our final reader. Somrita is a professor, poet, and literary translator, and a Fulbright doctoral research fellow at Brown University. As a translator from Bengali and Hindi to English, she was selected by the National Center for Writing in the UK as an emerging translator. There's more. Was invited as a translator in residence at Cove Park, Scotland, and was invited as a poet in residence at Arcs of a Circle in Mumbai. She has recently finished translating a political biography, an anthology of lyrical verses, a 5-volume novel in verse, and a contemporary retelling of an Indian epic. And currently she's translating a novel on the Russian Revolution from Bangla to English. And this is Somrita's last night in the country before flying home to India tomorrow. So please join us in giving her a warm welcome and a warm send-off.
Thank you, Judy. I'm 28, which means I take myself very seriously, which might have shown from the little bio note that Judy read out. And I'm very British, which means I don't have a sense of humor. I don't have a single funny bone in my body. Asterisk, when I say British, I mean I come from a British colony, India. Anyway, good evening. Gosh, I said afternoon. I'm so drunk already. Good evening, and this night is very special for me because this really is my last night in this city that I have loved with all my heart. God knows I've loved this place over the last 1 year, and it has loved me back. Providence is the city that has witnessed a lot of my heartbreaks and bitter losses, but it's also the city where I've eventually found love, and I met my partner, who is a very recent fiance, a week old. This reading is for my partner, this reading is for the city of Providence, and this reading is for each of us in this room that is looking for acknowledgement and acceptance and trying to make it. I'm calling this story The Girl on the Phone. I was walking home late last night, down the cobbled streets of the stale, moth-eaten, sour whiskey-smelling south side of this city. I was at a Dominican restaurant attending the screening of a Colombian movie, Spanish with English subtitles, Mama, about an estranged mother and her daughter's daughter, and how the three briefly find love, comfort, and solace in one another. The girl walking ahead of me on the footpath was on the phone, crying, and after every 4 or 5 sentences repeating, "How can you do this to me? How can you leave me alone?" Now, I love people who are unafraid to get drunk. I love sitting down with them and hearing their drunk stories. There is an honesty in their tears, I think, a kind of vulnerability in their lies, and indiscretion in their warmth and abandon that even the best of us have to fake in our best composed moments. And so, I followed this slightly drunk, deeply disturbed girl until I had to cross the road and walk over to the other side. Have I really been able to walk over to the other side? I thought of my last 2 breakdowns in the last couple of years. The letters that I had written had come back unanswered, all 61 of them. I seem to have sent them to some wrong address. In my late teens and early 20s, I never cried. When the men came and went, I was confident and brave and uncaring. I had the kind of arrogance that comes with youth, that they could leave, but I knew they would come back someday, and even if they didn't, others would. But by the time I was approaching 30, I lost that faith in them and in me. And so I cried the last 2 times that they left. on the phone, like that girl, repeating, "How can you do this to me? How can you leave me alone?" I wanted to stop the girl on the road and shake her up. We need to be young again. We need to be shameless, reckless, brave, and hopeful. There are too many of us unseeing the dreams that we had once dared to chase. I wanted to tell the girl that I too had cried on the phone, but that the men had left anyway, that they were meant to leave anyway. I had cried and begged and pleaded with them to stay, but you cannot make people stay when they are determined to go away. My love with those men had been hypothetical, assumptions based on insufficient evidence. Legs, hands, fingers, lips, toes, all. Our bodies had made love, but I cannot remember seeing my soul. I wanted to tell the girl that in the last few months that I have been alone, I did not regret that the men had gone. What I regret is that I had humbled myself for them. To love and not be loved in return is fucking brutal. I wanted to tell her that there is no beauty in fighting madly, maniacally for love where there is none. Because some things look good only in the movies. In life, they tend to bring hurt and humiliation. I wanted to tell the girl that she needs to apologize to herself on behalf of all those people who had not. If a sorry is what you're waiting for, then let me tell you that it will not come. If a sorry will help you move on, then say a sorry to yourself, the one that they won't say, and then do move on. I wanted to tell the girl of the sex worker whom I had met on the streets of London at 4 a.m. under the sheer fabric of a sequined Georgette sky, when I was sitting on a park bench outside my hotel in Kensington, crying and singing on the phone. Are dhori dhori mone kori dhorte gelem ar pelem na dhori dhori mone kori dhorte gelem ar pelem na dekhechi roop sagore moner manush kacha shona. Take your time to get over, Katerina Vasilieva, the sex worker from Budapest, had told me in broken English. There is no rush to forget anything, she had said. But when you do move on, when you do forget, make sure that it's absolutely clean, with no dirty traces left. I wanted to stop the girl on the road and tell her that there is no point in asking how some people live with themselves by damaging other people's homes. I wanted to tell her that what follows these calls, these conversations, these stories and these songs is regret. I regret that I had cried and begged and pleaded with those men to stay. I regret that my mother never taught me how to live by myself, and how my father and my sister and my neighbor and my dog and my cat and my horse and my God all always spoke of adjustments and compromises and friendships and love, prescriptions to a happy life surrounded by family and friends. There was no prescription on how to make it on my own, on how to watch a movie all by myself, alone in a theater full of people, on how to order for a 3-course or a 2-course or a 1-course or any meal at all for myself, alone in a restaurant, surrounded by cheer and laughter and whispered promises and sweet kisses. On how to go to a flea market or a park or a picnic or a Sunday afternoon alone. On how to live by myself, with myself, on my own, alone. I wish I could tell the girl that she was on the phone with a person who would leave anyway. I wish I could tell her that you are not an Airbnb room sister where the men can come and go. Your body will not be their holiday destination, their weekend getaway, their staycation. You are worth more. I wish I could share with her the prescription on how to make it on her own. But by the time I got the medication, that girl was long gone. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this space, Julie and Valen. And the next time you hear someone crying on the phone, tell them that they can make it. They're not alone. Thank you.